Most people trying to transform their physique are failing miserably, and it's not through a lack of effort, it's because you've been lied to about what it takes. Now, I've helped hundreds of people transform their physique and get into the absolute shape of their life, and today I'm going to break down step by step exactly what it takes to transform your physique so you can stop treading water and actually get some fucking results. The fitness industry does a very good job at selling you the dream. It'll have you believe that you can look like your favourite fitness influencer in 12 weeks, and it's bullshit. It's absolute fucking nonsense. Now, if you're new to training, then you can build muscle and lose your body fat at a similar sort of rate because ultimately it's new stimulus to the body. But if you've been at this shit for some time, if you've been training for many years, trying to catch multiple rabbits at the same time, you're just going to end up pissing in the wind, getting frustrated and just getting nowhere fast. Instead, this is what you're going to do, and I'm going to break it down into 5 stages you need to go through to ultimately build the physique of your dreams and start finally getting rewarded for your efforts. So step 1, the diet phase. Now, I would strongly urge, if you're carrying excess body fat already, diet before anything else. Now, I'm not going to throw out any kind of body fat percentage numbers because let's face it, most people massively overestimate or underestimate how much they have to lose or what body fat percentage they think they're at. As a rough arbitrary guide, if you have zero definition in your midsection and your love handles are spilling over your jeans, probably a good fucking idea to start dieting before you start focusing on gaining any size. Now, as to how long you need to diet for, it's very case dependent. Ultimately, it's how fat are you, how much do you need to lose, but I would suggest somewhere between 12 to 16 weeks. In my experience, seems to be the upper limit for most people's tolerance with the fatigue and just the monotony that comes with being on lower calories. Now, if you're completely clueless as to where to start with calculating your calories and your macros to go into a fat loss phase and actually start seeing some results, click the link in the description. You can download a free guide and it will walk you through step by step how to do that today. Now, as a rough guide, you want to be losing somewhere between 1 to 1.5% of total body weight per week in a fat loss phase. It's never going to be linear. Some weeks you might lose more, some weeks you might lose less. But as a guide, if you're consistently losing less than 1% of body weight per week, I would suggest lowering your calories by 100 per day and take that reduction from carbohydrates. Keep your fats and your protein where they're at. Now, the reason that we want to start off with a fat loss phase is because when you're leaner and you look and feel better, you'll be instantly bought into the process in terms of the long term, but also the leaner you are, so the more muscle and less body fat you've got, your body becomes far more efficient at metabolizing calories, which ultimately means that when we get to a point where the focus switches from losing body fat to gaining muscle tissue, you gain a much better quality of size because you're not adding additional body fat onto the body fat you're already carrying. Now, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that when they reach the end of the dieting phase, they're done. No. That's when the hard work, that's when the real work really starts. And that's where you're now going to transition into phase 2. So phase 2 is the reverse diet, and this is where a lot of people fuck things up. It is essentially a slow, controlled and progressive increase of your calories out of a deficit up towards maintenance. Now, the reason a lot of people fuck this up and ultimately become a fat cunt again is because they get to the end of the diet phase and they just ramp the calories up far too fast. They revert back to old habits, they end up going on a binge and they just can't stop. Then 8 weeks later, you look in the mirror and realise you've completely fucked it and you've regained all the weight that you lost in that initial dieting phase. So what you want to be doing is, when you get to the end of a dieting phase, is slowly and incrementally increase your calories by roughly 1 to 200 calories per day, per week, over a 4 to 6 week period, mostly from carbohydrates. But the emphasis here is still keeping food quality on point. You don't just want to start ramping calories up and using that as an excuse to start including a load of shit food in your diet, because that's when things start to snowball and that's when things start to get out of hand. Now, what we're ultimately looking for is changes in body weight. Ideally, body weight wants to be pretty stable as calories are slowly increasing, and that shows us that we're now able to maintain that new body weight on slightly higher calories. In the first week to 2 weeks, you might find that body weight does creep up a little bit. That's normal. It's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just you're holding more water because you're taking more carbohydrates on board than you were in that dieting phase. But for the most part, we want to see body weight pretty stable and holding at a similar sort of number. If you start to get to a point where you then increase calories again and body weight starts to rise, that's a good indication that whatever calories you were on the previous week is around about your maintenance for that new body weight. Now we move into phase 3, which is the maintenance phase, which I know doesn't sound particularly sexy and exciting, but it's very fucking necessary for your long-term success when it comes to physique development and building the physique that you would like to build. Again, as a rough sort of arbitrary guideline, somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks at your new maintenance calories is enough for your body to go through a slight adaptation, make sense of what's happened in the dieting phase and the reverse dieting phase without rebounding and gaining a shitload of body fat. And as I said in phase 2, it's very, very fucking important that you still maintain the same level of self-control, discipline and habits that you demonstrated in the fat loss phase and the reverse diet phase, because if you don't and you start to think that now you're on higher calories, you can become a little bit lax, you can become lazy, you can become a little bit too loose with your intake and start sneaking in extra calories. This is where you'll find yourself end up having to go back into a diet phase far sooner than we need to. Phase 4, the improvement phase. Now this is arguably the fun bit, the most enjoyable bit, because let's face it, it's always going to be tougher on lower calories. This is where the goal switches from losing body fat and maintaining to calories come up above maintenance into a slight surplus, and we now focus on building muscle tissue, building strength, and actually building a physique on that already lean frame that we created in the first couple of phases. But it is arguably the phase that needs the most self-control and discipline, because if you start to view this phase as an opportunity to get a little bit loose, get on it at the weekend, sneak a pizza in, a couple of cookies, a few extra calories, because let's face it, it's all right because I'm looking to gain weight anyway, you will find that things will snowball fast and the ratio of body fat gained to muscle tissue gained will be all out of whack, and you'll just ultimately have fucked all the hard work that you put in phases 1, 2 and 3. Now granted, you have bought some flexibility and freedom back by committing to the diet phase, the reverse diet phase and the maintenance phase. You're now leaner, your body's more efficient at metabolizing calories, so you will be able to have a meal out, a couple of drinks here and there, but we still need to account for it. We still need to have some self-control and some discipline and manage our overall intake, because what we don't want to do is find that we get to the end of this improvement phase and we haven't, as the name suggests, improved our physique. We've just gained a load of body fat and there isn't a huge amount of muscle to show for it. And as a rough sort of arbitrary guideline, in an improvement phase, we want to be shooting for somewhere between 0.25 to 0.5% total body weight increase per week. That's a nice little gain to make sure that we're gaining a good amount of muscle tissue with minimal body fat. And the key here there is minimal body fat. You will see a slight increase in body fat in an improvement phase, but like I say, if we maintain that same level of discipline and self-control and we still spend time planning, prepping and tracking our intake, it will be minimal. Therefore in future phases we won't have as much body fat to pull off. Now as to how long you need to spend in an improvement phase, again, it varies and ultimately depends on your ability to keep your shit together. For males, somewhere between 16 to 20 weeks, females 12 to 14 weeks as an arbitrary sort of guideline. But if you feel like you can keep your shit together, you're happy, performance is flying, you're maintaining a degree of condition, then just run it for a little bit longer. Then we're into phase 5, which if you haven't already guessed, we're back to a fat loss phase. This is where you go back into a shorter fat loss phase to pull off any body fat gained in that improvement phase. And arguably, this is probably the more enjoyable fat loss phase, and every future fat loss phase that you go in will be that little bit more enjoyable because it's an opportunity to reveal the muscle tissue that you've gained in previous improvement phases. Now, the beauty of this approach is that every diet phase you do in the future, theoretically, you should be able to diet on slightly higher calories, because in the previous improvement phase, you'll have built muscle tissue. As we know, muscle is more thermogenic than body fat, which means your body becomes more efficient at metabolizing food the more muscle that you have, which means that ultimately you won't need to be just as aggressive with the deficit than maybe you did back at phase 1. And also, you might not need to diet for anywhere near as long. If you've kept your shit together in the improvement phase and you've handled the reverse diet and the maintenance phase perfectly, then you might only need to diet for 6-8 weeks to reveal the new muscle tissue that you gained in previous improvement phases. Then ultimately, you just repeat the process again and again over a multiple year process. And that's how you build a physique. That's how you seriously start to see some changes that you want to see. Now, ultimately, this is the reality of what it takes. A lot of these cunts that you follow on social media, they're trying to paint this image that you'll build the physique in 12 weeks. As I said at the start, it's bullshit. They've been through these processes multiple times over multiple years to build their physique. Now they're trying to cash in by selling you the dream. Now, unfortunately, most people will never build the physique that they want because you give up far too soon. You've been led to believe that this is just a 12-week process and then you're done. Because unfortunately, telling people that from where you're at now to where you want to be might be a 2 to 3 year process doesn't sound sexy, doesn't sound appealing, doesn't sound exciting. It doesn't sell coaching programs. But the unfortunate reality is that's what it takes. But look at it this way. The next 2 to 3 years are going to roll by anyway. If you accept that this shit takes time and you're willing to put the work in, you can achieve so much. And if you're still here and I haven't bored you to fucking death, I would greatly appreciate if you'd consider subscribing to the channel. The goal by the end of June is to try and reach 1,000 subscribers. If you'd like a little bit more contact with myself, i.e. more content, maybe you want to have a chat with me, ask questions, click the link in my description, head over to my Instagram. But thank you for watching, much love, see you in the next video.